I'm going to put a hydraulic clutch in the car for a couple reasons. Probably the main reason is the mechanical clutch that was in the car before. With the LS, there's not a good way to bolt up the mechanical clutch, because with the small block Chevy and the old way that it was done, it actually bolted to the block. It was down like in this area here for the crank of the clutch, and there's no provisions for that on an LS. I did look into the internet, and there's some guys that have made mechanisms to do it, but did not read anything good about it. So I bit the bullet and bought a hydraulic clutch kit from Silver Sport Transmissions. And this is the kit here. So all the stuff here is more on the firewall, and then this goes down to the trans. So here's the actual throwout bearing itself. That's hydraulic. These are some spacers that need to go in front of the trans. This will get bolted to the firewall where the current clutch rod comes out, and this is the reservoir for the fluid. So it looks like a pretty nice kit, looks pretty complete. First step is to take out the boot and the clutch rod. There's under the dash. That's clutch pedal to the left. So this rod needs to come out, and you can see against the firewall that's where the boot goes through. Really hard to film under the dash. Came out real easy just with these 3 bolts, and then a cotter pin at the top of the rod. Here's the hole on the firewall where it's going to mount. That's where the old clutch lever came out. So the mount goes here, lines up with these 3 holes that are right here. So it goes on just like that. The other thing is, if you can see, there's like a lip here that goes around this hole that is basically part of when they stamp the firewall. I need to grind this down to get this at the same level as these kind of welded in nuts, so that this guy sits nice and flat. Here it is. Make sure the screws go through. Alright, no problem at all. The kit comes with these 3 items. This is the mounting plate for the master cylinder. There's a gasket and then a stiffening plate. This, and mount it straight to the firewall, then put the gasket on here, or the rubber seal, and then the stiffening plate on there after that. Because of the way that firewall hole where this goes, I had to grind down that lip, so it's going to sit on these kind of bosses where these nuts that are welded to the firewall work. So the gasket, then the stiffening plate, and the nut. So there it is, all bolted in. Went in pretty easy. Now we'll put the master cylinder on the outside. Install complete. Went pretty easy. That thing is super solid. Now that the master cylinder's in, I need to connect the pedal to the master cylinder. This was the actuation rod for my setup. From the pedal went here, and then this went to the Z crank. This is what Silver Sport sent me, because I have to kind of mimic this bend that's in this thing. This is a custom piece they made for me. Oh, and then the spherical end goes in the end here. This is threaded on the other end, and you can adjust the length by spinning the rod. Being an offset like this, it's going to make it a little bit difficult, a lot of trial and error, but it should go in okay. Silver Sport custom made this for me because this is not supposed to be for the pedal that I have in the car, but that's what I have. It looks like it's actually A-body Gen 1, and 68 was A-body Gen 2. So maybe some leftover parts that GM used, I don't know. But this is for the Gen 1. Huge shout out to Silver Sport. They did a fantastic job. Thank you, Richard, for sticking with me and trying to figure out what I needed to make sure that this thing would fit. First thing is to get that spherical joint. I need to get it bolted right into here. I know, hard to see. Okay, that's the pin in the clutch pedal. I get the spherical joint on. There we go. So I got the rod in. Sorry I couldn't video as I was putting it in. It was just no way to do that under the dash here. But you can see where that little crook in it attaches up here at the top of the pedal with that spherical joint. It's really important per the instructions, and when I talked to the guys at Silver Sport, that you are basically lined up within about 5 degrees of an angle to the master cylinder, or it'll wear out pretty. So one of the things I discovered once we got the clutch all in is that I have too much clutch pedal travel, and I'm bottoming out the master cylinder on the hydraulic clutch. So if I go all the way down, I'm actually, the pedal, hard to see, but the pedal's not bottoming out on anything. I'm bottoming out on the master cylinder. So I need to put in a stop. My clutch pedal stop will mount to this plate here. I want something nice and solid, something that's not going to flex. I drilled a series of holes here. This will make more sense here in a minute. But there's going to be a rubber piece that's going to bolt onto it here, essentially. And that's what the clutch pedal will actually hit against. This is actually a bump stop from one of my old A-arms that I took off. So the rubber mounts on there. Then I'll have a screw that goes from the firewall side, and it'll screw into this tapped hole, and then there'll be a cap screw that goes through this hole, and that'll go and mount into the bottom of where the master cylinder mounts into. I'll drill the hole through the firewall, and that hole that's in the bottom of that plate, the screw will go to there. That's the clutch stop mounted in place. And you'll see when you push down the clutch, it hits right there on the rubber. You need to have 1.4 inches of travel. You can see that piece of blue steel that's clamped to the brake pedal, and it hits the actuation rod for the clutch, and then when you push down the clutch, I measure from that over to the blue steel, and I'm just a tick over 1.4 inches, so it should be good. So I painted up the plate, and we will permanently install it. That's the finished product in the car, and then I have a trim panel that goes around there. This is the trim panel here, and what I did was I cut this hole out here using Dremel tool to fit around the plate and everything that's in it. That's a trim plate in place. Then the carpet comes up here, and this covers up the top edge of the carpet. So it came out okay. It almost looks like it was made for it. Kind of was.